for the Greater Houston Black Chamber presents the Blackout. So I will now kick it to Ms. Carol Guest, and she will provide our welcome remarks.
All right, thank you, Shelby. Good morning, everyone. We want to thank you, first of all, for getting up early with us on a Friday morning. We appreciate your interest and investment in yourselves by joining us today for our webinar, The Blackout. I want to thank Shelby Mims, who's put in so much work, one of our co-chairs for our Advocacy and Policy Committee, which has done great work throughout this year in making sure that our members stay informed about what's going on at the local level and at the national level with regard to contracting opportunities and anything that affects small business. So thank you, Shelby, so much for your hard work. And I just want to welcome everyone on behalf of the Chamber and our Chamber leadership, and say welcome to our council members who have always been engaged with our membership and our community and who have been working hard to make sure that we have fair representation at the table. So we look forward to hearing from them today. And I want to say thank you for your membership, because without your membership, we are not able to bring you quality programming such as what we have going on this morning. So I would encourage you to let other people know about what we have going on at the Chamber and ask you to be ambassadors for us to bring them to the table so that we can have even more numbers. We are stronger together and stronger with greater numbers. So we hope that you will do that and enjoy today's panel discussion. And now I will toss back to Shelby.
Thank you for that. And now I will toss it to our Advocacy and Policy Chair, Ms. Angelique Bartholomew.
Thank you, Shelby, and thank you again to everyone on the call in Houston. And we are excited to have the opportunity to talk to so many city council people without a city council meeting. How about that? So we didn't have to show up in city council to talk to y'all, and that's always a great thing. Shelby and I've been a part of the Chamber Advocacy Committee for several years now. Jerry was the chair, and Shelby and I have kind of assumed those roles, and the Chamber has been around, for those of you who don't know, for many, many years, since 1935, and has evolved into a civic active organization that is involved in the socioeconomic process in Houston. And that's just huge. They've been fighting a long time, y'all. So that is really what this organization stands for. And it's focused on African Americans, and we're proud to really say that. The Chamber's initiatives have progressed, and programs and process are dedicated to supporting African American businesses on the pillars of access, awareness, and advocacy. And those are things that I'm always involved with moving forward in the city of Houston, and so is our committee, and we're excited to have y'all. Thank you so much. And thank you to Gwen for moderating this event.
Thank you. Well, now I will just jump in and just outline the theme of the event, and then I will introduce our wonderful moderator. So the Greater Houston Black Chamber Virtual Roundtable is a signature event hosted by the GHBC Advocacy and Policy Committee. This morning, we have invited all of our African American council members to discuss economic development throughout the city. The discussion will highlight economic tools that business owners can use to expand their companies in the city of Houston, how the city helps qualified companies grow their businesses through expansion, and provide a 2021 City of Houston recap to the GHBC members. At the end of the panel discussion, we will allow time for questions and answers. So please just put your questions in the chat box throughout the conversation. Thank you again for joining us. And now I will introduce our esteemed moderator, Ms. Gwendolyn Tillerson Bell. She currently serves as the Deputy Director of the Mayor's Office of Economic Development, which has the responsibility for establishing public policy, managing and administering the activities of 8 local, state, and federal economic development programs. So she is always busy. But thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And I will kick it off to you, and we'll start the panel discussion.
Hi, good morning, Shelby, Angelique, Carol, and all of the participants, and especially our amazing, distinguished group of panelists. Yeah, we're always busy here, but we are never too busy to participate in such an exciting opportunity to actually bring together, our esteemed panelists, as well as those that are listening in to learn more about how we can continue to connect resources to the community members to make sure that the small businesses are maximizing their opportunities for contracting, and also just taking advantage of the other economic opportunities that are available within this amazing city that we call home. So I want to just start out by doing a quick introduction of our panel. I'm pretty sure that they can go unintroduced, but I just really want to brag a little bit about the amazing work that they do here in the city. So I'm going to start off with Vice Mayor Pro Tem Martha Kastak Tatum, who I have this special relationship with, because as the chair of the Economic Development Committee, of course, I spent a lot of time engaging with her directly, as I do with the rest of the council members. But she served as the council member of District K, which stretches across Southwest Houston into Fort Bend County. She currently serves, as I mentioned, as the chairperson of the Economic Development Committee, and is also a member of the Budget and Fiscal Affairs Committee, as well as the Transportation, Technology, and Infrastructure Committee. She is also the current president of the Texas Municipal League, and so very, excited, and kudos to her for assuming that responsibility, and is doing an amazing job at leading that organization, which provides a variety of services to over 1,150 member cities. So that's a big hat to wear. So next, I'd like to introduce Councilmember Edward Pollard, who is a proud product of Southwest Houston. He represents District K and serves as the vice chair of the Budget and Fiscal Affairs Committee, and also serves on the Economic Development Committee. He is the founder of Suits for Success, which is a 501c3 organization that mentors teen boys on life skills at District J high schools, which I have to say, this is something that is so critical and important to our community. And so I just want to say kudos to him for taking such an amazing leadership role in finding an organization that is really intended to give back to the community multiple times over. Councilmember Letitia Plummer is one of the 5 at-large council members. She represents at-large District 4. She serves on the Budget and Fiscal Affairs Committee, and as well as the chair of the Ethics, Elections, and Council Governance Committee. And then next, I'd like to introduce Councilmember Tiffany Thomas. She serves as council member of District F, which represents Alief, West Chase, Tanglewild, Briar Meadow, West Pont, and the historic Piney Point. She is the first Black woman under 40 to serve in this role. As chair of the Housing and Community Affairs Committee for the city, she oversees priorities relating to housing, veterans affairs, homelessness, and solid waste. And I'd like to also introduce Councilmember Carolyn Evans Shabazz, who serves as the council district member of District D, as she likes to refer to the district of destination. But she also serves as the vice chair of the Childhood and Youth Committee and a member of the Budget and Fiscal Affairs Committee. She was recently the Houston Community College trustee, which serves District 4, and also served as the first African-American female chairwoman of the board for 2 consecutive years. So it goes without saying that this group is definitely a distinguished group of a panel, and as many panels as I've moderated, I don't think I've had the privilege of moderating, an all African-American panel that comes with such high regards and that is so distinguished. So with that, I know that they have a lot of insight that they'd like to share with us this morning. So I'm going to start with the first question, and really this is a question to really give all that are on the call here and participating an opportunity to learn a little bit more about the council members, just kind of from their perspective and a little bit, maybe a little bit more personal insight. What I want to know is what drives your passion to serve your community and bring forward such positive, impactful, and substantive changes. You guys do such amazing work, and the work that you do is felt, from every person that lives in the community all the way to Washington, D.C. So just a little bit about kind of what drives you, what motivates you to get up and do what you do every day.
So this
And I'm
is-
just going to kick it out to any, into any of the council members for this question. Some of the questions that I'm going to ask, I'm going to direct it to a specific council member, and then any one of the panelists can actually join in. But in this case, I'm just going to open it up, and anyone who wants to share can actually just join in and provide your comments.
All right, this is Vice Mayor Pro Tem Martha Kastak Tatum. I'll kick it off. Good morning. I'm so honored to serve on this panel alongside my amazing council colleagues. I tell you, it feels good to be on the council and know that you've got a couple of sorors, some of the Divine Nine, and some amazing advocates for our community. What drives me, I tell people all the time, there is a unique level of responsibility when you are the council member for your mom and dad, and your 10th grade science teacher and your 8th grade basketball coach, and you really represent a community that actually raised you. So what drives me is the ability to give back to so many people that helped to shape and form the person that I am now, and to give back to the community that has given so much and supported me throughout my growth. And it is extraordinary to see the transformation that we can make. And I think that elected office is a calling, just like you get a call to go into the medical field, or you call to entrepreneurship. I think that public service is also a calling. And I tell people, if you are receiving that call, don't be afraid to go for it.
I'll hop in following my Vice Mayor Pro Tem and Sarah. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here. So as was mentioned, I'm an at-large member, and so I have the liberty of really looking over the whole entire city. And what I see consistently is, although Houston has struggled with many things, Harvey, Ice Storm Uri, now COVID, we continue to have a level of resiliency and hope. No one seems to give up in the city, no matter what is happening from community to community. That is like an ongoing, consistent theme that happens. And so if they can continue to fight for what they want in their neighborhoods or their city or transportation or whatever, healthcare, whatever means something to them, their schools, then it is my responsibility to wake up every morning with that same level of commitment as well. And so really the people of Houston keep me going. And then I want my boys to come back and live here. I mean, they keep on teasing me saying they're going to go live elsewhere, but I really want them to come back. And so I want to make it a great place for our kids to stay and continue the legacy that the council member Martha Kastak mentioned. I want them to know where their parents live and where their teachers live and all that kind of stuff. I want them to come back home. So I want the city to be amazing. I know it already is, but I know it can transform to a better space. And that is really what drives me every day.
I'll jump in. Good morning to everyone, and thank you for having me. These seats are hard to come by, for one. You have to understand that to get elected into public office is a tall task. And I think to truly be effective, you have to really have a passion for service and a passion for people. And if you pay attention to the social media post of many of the council members who are sitting on this panel, you'll see the tremendous work that they do within their districts or for the city at large. Constantly, every day, I'm in awe of a lot of the tremendous initiatives that they put forward. And that's when you look at that, you feel proud because you know that communities are represented by people who truly care. And when you truly care, you can be effective. And you have a great group of council members, especially from the African-American communities, that do a tremendous job at advocating for issues and concerns that matter to our communities most. And so you can tell by the work that's done how passionate a person is regarding their service. And if you pay attention to any of the things that they do on a daily basis, you'll see that you have great representation.
Okay.
Oh, that was so nice.
Okay, go ahead, Councilmember Thomas, then I'll go.
Oh, no, I was just saying that was nice. You can go ahead.
Well, good morning. And I'm so very honored to be here, particularly because my colleagues are just so awesome. And I mean that in all respects. And I see so much potential in them. I know we're term limited and such, but I see so much potential in them going forward because they all have this heart for service, and they're very diligent and consistent and just so awesomely smart. And so I'm very, very honored to be among them. And so I think Vice Mayor Pro Tem said it most accurately for me. It is a calling. And I've always wanted to be a resource for people. That is something that I've always strived to be, and sometimes a little bit too much, because people reach out to me for everything. I mean, to fix their toilets and whatever. But at any rate, I love it. And I always tell people that I may say what's going on and whatever, but I'm explaining and I'm not complaining, because I really, really love what I do. And you know, my district is very diverse, and it goes from the haves to the have-nots. And so certainly I have to try to meet the needs of people from Sagemont on through the medical center and the museum district. But I'm very, very thankful, not just for my colleagues, but for my staff. I have an awesome staff, and they really, really hold my arms up. I think, who's that in the Bible, that we have, that your arms are being held up. And so certainly I'm very glad to be here, and I'm really hoping to glean some things, because I learned so much from my colleagues as well. And so thank you so very much for this opportunity.
Good morning, everyone. And, you know, my passion and my drive really comes from people like Ghost, who I'm wearing his shirt. Ghost is someone who may not have the educational background, but he has the street entrepreneurship spirit in the community, and he's literally branded an entire neighborhood through clothing and accessories, and has taken dilapidated shopping centers in portions of our neighborhood and has turned that into an economic engine. So my drive every day is to make sure that people like him have an access to City Hall, that they have a personal relationship with their council member, because I couldn't tell you when I was growing up who my council member was. I couldn't tell you who my high school counselor was, right? And so for me, one of the driving forces is to make sure that those who may not come with our acumen, may not come with our social network, feel very confident that the work that's being done on behalf of them as it relates to District F, that they're confident that I have their best interest in mind. And so that's really a driver for me. And just shout out to Ghost, visit A-Leaf Clothing in Kirkwood. You can get you some A-Leaf drip for those of you that are familiar with the neighborhood. So that's my drive.
So the reason that I started off with this question is because I have the privilege of, on a weekly basis, hearing this passion echoed throughout the council meeting. And I think it's just really important that the people understand who's representing them, and why they're representing them, and why sometimes the council gets a little bit exciting to listen to, because people are really coming with heart. They're really coming with their desire to do really what's in the best interest of their constituency. And we're talking about economic development, which is really critical when it comes to looking at your community and making sure that you are providing the best resources and the best opportunities for each of your communities. So let's start with the first question. Or the first question regarding economic development and opportunities. So I'm going to start, kick it off and ask this of Vice Mayor Pro Tem Kastak Steven. So you've been the chair of the Economic Development Committee for 2 years, and you've learned a lot of the many and multiple city-initiated projects, programs, contract proposals. You're sort of the face of economic opportunities. Can you share your thoughts about contracting opportunities and access to those contracting opportunities for small businesses?
Absolutely. Thank you, Gwen. The Economic Development Committee reviews economic development matters, domestic and international trade, business and job creation, and aviation. So that is kind of the mission of that committee. However, but what what I think is most effective for this panel is to really talk about our Office of Business Opportunity. For business owners, if you are not engaging and connecting with the Office of Business Opportunity, you are missing a very vital resource to making sure that you are expanding capacity, leveraging your partnerships, networking prospects, and really just becoming more aware of the resources that are available for us in the city of Houston. If you are not on our distribution list, I'm going to ask if you will email perdita.chavis@houstontx.gov. We send out thousands of contacts to business owners in the city of Houston. And I know that Dee Dee's on the line and she's going to put that information for us in the chat. But that way you will receive our Economic Development Committee agenda items for each month. As a business owner, you can peruse that agenda and see, is there something on the Economic Development Committee meeting this month that I need to be aware of? Many of you probably have heard about Spaceport and the activity that's happening in the city around aviation. If your business can glean any opportunities from Spaceport and aviation, when we have those presentations, you need to make sure that you are signed in to those meetings. OBO has a solution center. If you are thinking about starting a business, there are opportunities for you to engage with them. So the biggest takeaway that I hope that people will know is that we want to engage. It is our role to make sure that we are creating a diverse economic environment in the city of Houston and really trying to break down the barriers that our small businesses have. And I say this all the time, that the people closest to the problems many times have the solutions. So if you are facing a challenge in your small business and you think there's an opportunity for us to assist you with it, reach out to us. Let us know what you think you need for us to assist you. I'll stop there, Gwen, but I want to make sure we save enough time to hear some specific questions from the people that are listening to us today. But please know that we want to restore people's faith in government. We want to make sure that we answer your questions, that we break down those barriers that you may be facing in your small businesses, and that we help you with solutions to expand your capacity for those businesses. And we are here to see your businesses thrive.
Great.
Gwen, if I could
Yes,
say something,
absolutely.
I don't know if you're going to call on specific people. Could I say something?
Oh, absolutely. So we
Oh.
just start off, but any council member can join in and chime in. And again, this is intended to be a dialogue.
Okay, I want to make something supremely clear here regarding my excitement regarding the ION. I know that we had a lot going on with the CBA and all of that and the agreement, but I am supremely excited for the possibilities of what the ION will do for small businesses, particularly in Third Ward. But of course, the fight was certainly to make sure that we are able to offer opportunities to small businesses and that they could continue to exist in the Third Ward area. So I'm very excited because they have so many possibilities, and then there's money attached to the possibilities. And so I just want to put that out there, you know, because some people think because I was speaking for my community that I certainly was not in favor of the ION, and I want to make that supremely clear that I am very excited for the possibilities. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Does anyone want to comment on this question before we go to the next topic? Okay, so this question is actually for all of the council members. So just speaking generally, you know, I mentioned that, and Shelby kind of introduced that we're responsible in this office for 8 economic development programs. And I've worked specifically with each of our council members on a variety of economic development programs, initiatives, opportunities, or in some cases just supporting. So can you just speak a little bit about how your communities have benefited from economic development programs, and specific or just general support from our office?
Yeah, let me start there. So one of the platforms that I ran on was economic development. because for far too long, there was this perception and this idea that the resources from the city, particularly, were not being reinvested in District F, right? So we weren't getting the benefit of the 380 agreements. We weren't getting the benefit of resources and programming. So for me, I was real intentional in making sure that when opportunity from the city or our partners such as Comcast with the small business grants, all of that, that we were actively pushing that in the community. And I will tell you, just even looking at the small business recovery fund with the CARES funding we did, District F benefited from that. We benefited from our partners because we've been actively pushing this out. And so many people in our community now see that there's opportunity and that they're not left out, because we have been known as the forgotten district. And so taking advantage of that. And for those who are familiar with the West Side, I think it's technically in District G, but the District F will benefit. And so on Westheimer, there was a deal we passed a couple of months ago, and it used to be where the old Walkbo, if y'all know anything about Walkbo and Westheimer. So the old Walkbo, and then there was a Blockbuster that used to be there. And so that entire deal is going to revitalize that corridor of Westheimer. So I look forward to which, jobs, business, all of that will be coming, and it'll be a driver all throughout Westheimer where pockets need revitalization. So we have definitely benefited from that. And if I can just go back quickly to the first question, I think it's important for the members to understand that economic development takes form and shape in different ways in the city. So you have the traditional ways of, business of opportunity and, MWBE and looking at subcontracting, but we also have professional services contracting. There's also opportunities around that. You have opportunities in almost every department to contribute. And so I think that's a bigger conversation we need to start having about making sure that the chamber has, and I know that the membership committee is aggressively recruiting, but making sure that people like Ghost, right, who have the talent and the skill set, but may not be plugged into that, to know how they can participate in the economic engine of the city. And so there's multiple pathways for people to be successful. And we're seeing the beginnings of that in my district.
Great, thank you.
And I'll continue that discussion. When you think about economic development, it's not just cranes in the sky or construction and infrastructure projects or building up neighborhoods. It's really about people. And representation truly matters. The people on this panel are the ones that you see on a weekly basis that are looking at the MWBEs. We're the ones that are talking to the Office of Business Opportunity. We're the ones that's educating our constituents on the importance of applying to be a city vendor so that you actually can do the work. And many times we use our offices as a platform to facilitate information. And our job is to make sure that you are as informed as possible. And we work with the Black Chamber a lot in doing so. When we did the Comcast Rise, or we did the program with United Airlines, or the things that we do with small business relief with the CARES dollars or the ARPA dollars, the Black Chamber is always in the mix of the discussion. And that's because we are trying to facilitate information to their members so that they can then educate their members on all the opportunities and all the programming that the city of Houston has to provide. The Office of Business Opportunity puts out emails, every single week with different programming and different notifications, different trainings, different seminars. And so what we do as council members is try to ensure that you all have the information so that knowledge is actually real power. And you can use that not only for yourself, but then each one teach one, to where you go back into your own social circles and you provide that information to your colleagues and your church congregation. And so that we can start to build our communities in a way where each individual or each specific small business can all rise together. And I think once we do that, then you'll really see a true transformation.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, go on, Councilmember Shabazz.
Well, I feel really good about coming after Mr. MWBE because he really, really keeps our noses to the fire and our feet to the fire regarding participation. And so that is so vital, because a lot of times people don't know how to participate in business with the city. And so that's a very key role that that needs to be addressed even more. I mean, I don't think we can ever address it enough, because so many people are coming into themselves as small businesses, and so they are not aware of these opportunities, and there is so much money available. And so I have to commend my colleague, Councilmember Pollard, because he's always on point regarding what has been lacking in the goals, and how people have either met their goals or have not met their goals. And so I think that's very important as well. Thank you.
And I'm going to just hop in as well, and just kind of as a large member, my role is a little bit different. But what I see my role as being is one of connecting people. And so, creating these, hearing what people want in the small business community and connecting them with maybe a private partnership or a nonprofit partnership or something with the city. During COVID, we were able to be an integral part of having that conversation with Lift Fund, and that micro lending that restaurants needed and small businesses needed to be able to survive. And so I kind of feel like I'm a part of the connecting piece. But along with my other council members is also the accountability part as well, making sure that once we do create these partnerships and procurement has happened and someone is awarded something, then making sure that all the responsibilities that a prime has committed to doing, making sure that they're keeping their word on that to increase and support engagement. And so it's exciting. Houston's got a lot going on. The economic opportunities here are vast. And one thing that all the members are mentioning is information. I mean, information is profound. It is very important because oftentimes it's hard to navigate. And so we are all of us are liaisons between the outside world, the business world, and the city and what happens here. That is our job. That's why we've been elected as a small business owner. It's really important, especially now as we find ourselves moving out of the COVID space and things leveling off. We're going to see, we're seeing an upshoot because people have been kind of closed in, and there will be a leveling off at some point. And so it is our job to make sure that we help all of our community, the business community, navigate through that. And we hire consultants all the time. And so we have information that we can also share just in terms of trends that happen. And of course, not specifically with the city, but these trends are happening over nationally. And so we can share that information so that the small business that can't afford the large consultant firms to do this research, that we can kind of give them a little bit of a heads up of what to expect in the business world and what's coming up the pike.
And Gwen, I'll round this question off because I really want to touch on some tangible happenings through economic development. You'll hear me talk about stuffed wings a lot because that is a District K constituent who will now have a brick and mortar restaurant in the Ion district. He started out with a food truck, but was connected through the opportunities at the Ion, and now we'll have a brick and mortar stuffed wings restaurant in the Ion district. So I hope that we'll go out and support him. I know that all of the council members pushed out the public-private partnership with Comcast Rise as we were working to make sure we recover from COVID. And, we had 11 businesses from District K that benefited from that $10,000 or a technology makeover. We also had, I serve on Houston Exponential Board, which is a group of funders that are looking to make sure that we don't exclude African Americans in the tech space. So one of the areas in our district that really needed a shot in the arm with economic development, we've got a great company called Solugen that just moved their headquarters into that space. And, you know, they make molecules that we need in our communities, in the world. And they offset CO2 equivalencies in products. And so just having that level of economic development to come into our communities, we need to continue to tell those success stories so that other business entrepreneurs can know I can get that resource and my business can also continue to thrive, grow, and I can continue to build capacity.
You know, I agree that we have done in the last 2 years so much in terms of building our technology ecosystem, as well as our life science ecosystem. And we're starting to see the fruit of that labor come together, and whether it's in the ION or independent buildings. And there's been some recent announcements. And so all of these, you know, developments is going to create opportunities for small businesses. But I want to go into this question because I think it ties into what you have all said. And there is a consistent theme in terms of connecting resources and making sure that there is capacity to serve on these major contracts. And Councilmember Pollard talks very passionately about, you know, he's not very happy when goals aren't met. And because the question becomes why? You know, if we have all of this capacity within city contracts and other contracts, but for some reason those contracts goals are not being met, is it a capacity issue? Is it a resource issue? Is it a lack of access issue that's causing this to happen? So this question is, you know, I hear often where MWBE participation goals for some reason have not been met. And maybe it's a lack of capacity, maybe it's bonding capabilities, or maybe the lack of bonding capabilities, or that the contract is so specialized that there were not enough of minority women-owned small businesses with that specialty. And so the question is, can you talk a little bit about how small businesses can learn more about service gaps and create partnerships? Because in some cases, maybe a small business doesn't have the capacity. So maybe there's an opportunity to create partnerships with other similar small businesses so that you can build capacity to be able to compete for some of these contracts and leverage or expand your existing services so that you can qualify and bring about a service that is needed to start to minimize those gaps. So can you talk a little bit about what your thoughts are in terms of how we can better connect and how we can minimize some of those service gaps or contracting gaps?
Yeah, so let me jump in here. So I think it's two things going on. One, you know, like historically, we know that Blacks don't always have the access to capital, don't always, you know, they're not always building their business with CPA and attorneys. Some of them are building it brick by brick with their own personal money. So I think there's two conversations. One, we know we have a chamber, which should really be driving that conversation of where those gaps are in business, right? So, and then saying who needs to get together in order for us to fill that gap. So the chamber has to serve as that anchor while facilitating and working through the city and the state and the county to start putting these entrepreneurs together. So we're not on the back end wondering why another company got the contract and we're begging for 30% when we could have created one and been the prime. You see what I'm saying? And so I think also the other conversation that needs to start happening in community and maybe even K through 12 and maybe even at our college campuses is about looking at, and I think we've seen that with COVID, it really disrupted industry. We've seen that with Uber Eats, we've seen that with logistics. We can't keep solid waste drivers because you know, Amazon is blowing up and everyone wants something delivered. But we have to start thinking more intentionally and down the line about where does industry take us moving forward? And then who do we need to put together to create the businesses to fill the gaps? Because I really do think that oftentimes we're asking for way too little. We're fighting over crumbs of a 12% of some contract, right? And even though, you know, we know that there are some Black firms that have made their wealth on being 30%, you know, they've made their wealth over that, but we have to disrupt that whole system, I believe, and really look at how do we position companies to lead and be the prime. I think we really have to change the idea, because what's going to start happening is we're going to be fighting each other for crumbs. We're fighting each other for 30%, 15%, when we really could be creating a whole new industry and driving that. Houston's too large. There is, if you pay attention to any of those city council agendas, we move money every week. Money, right? And so somebody getting that money. And so why not you? So I think we have to start, you know, and I think there's an opportunity for entrepreneurs If you're not too attached to your business, if you're an entrepreneur and your thing is to create business and industry, that's an opportunity for you to create a whole new niche for yourself and position yourself in the city. You know, they just announced what the NCAA is coming in 2023. We have all types of conferences and conventions that are coming. Start thinking about supply chain, right? Start thinking about those things that are coming, that are being announced in the city that you can have a handle on. So I think it's a layered question what you're asking, but I do think those are two separate conversations. There's some preparation that needs to happen out in community to start talking about that, but then there's also some ways that the anchor can really drive that with the members in place to say, let's get in position, let's put some people together and let's go after that.
Let me jump in because Councilmember Thomas has brought up a few things that we at the Chamber are doing to make sure that we can put our members together to go after exactly what you said. In the past, I think we needed to develop a program for that to happen, and we actually are doing that through our city committee. So any of the members who are on the call can jump in and sign up for the city committee and avail themselves of the efforts that are going on there to match our businesses to go after contracts. And additionally, with regard to supply chain, I completely agree. We need to have our members thinking about supply chain, and we have a cohort training program that's going to start here in a little bit that is actually going to connect businesses with corporations and opportunities to get the members into supply chain and get them ready for it. So I just wanted to jump in and say thank you for your forward thinking, council member. We have considered that as
I'm already on it, so I'm just
yeah. So I just wanted to put that out there that we got it going just so for our members, and we're looking forward to a great 2022. So thank you.
And I wanted to say something as well. You know, coming from the Houston Community College, of course, you know, I'm sure other colleges have it, but there's an entrepreneur college at the Houston Community College as well. And they are designed for aspiring and existing entrepreneurs to help them to provide learning and peer-to-peer group focuses to help them to be able to navigate into entrepreneurship. And so again, of course, you know, with my personal engagement with HCC, I know how effective that is. And so these things that the Chamber are already putting in place, along with other college resources or community resources, are really going to be key for helping us to be able to connect and participate in what the city can give. Thank you.
And I'll just add that it's important as elected officials that we have the foundation in place. You know, part of the work that we're doing as a city is looking at opportunities to break up some of those big contracts. You know, historically, the contracts have been so large that small businesses didn't have an opportunity to participate. But as we try to divide those contracts up, we are allowing for opportunities for those small and medium-sized businesses to not only serve as subs, but also have opportunity to serve as primes. Last month, I had a great opportunity to congratulate the graduates of a OBO program where they learned about bonding and capacity building. And those programs like that specifically correlate to the work that we do to divide these contracts up. If you learned about how you can go and get bonding and build capacity, and then we divide the contracts up, we're looking for opportunities to make matches so that people can actually win these contracts and really change the trajectory of their businesses.
And to jump in on what Vice Mayor Pro Tem said, capacity and bonding is huge. And the other thing I would love to see happen is maybe more of more relationship building between lenders, where that be, you know, banks, you know, micro fund lenders, because honestly, as a small business owner, if you don't have that seed money, it's impossible to even get started in the conversation. And so that is definitely one place. And, you know, a lot of the times we do contracts with the Chases and the Capital Ones and that kind. So we need to ask for something back from them. So what are you going to do? How do you assist us? As we all know, African-American businesses and women specifically have the most difficult time with lending. It is impossible. And so many of us lead as small business owners and entrepreneurs. And so that lending piece and really building those relationships, I believe, is crucial in the initial portion of the conversation. And then everything that my colleague said, I'm completely in agreement. That everything's there, but we got to get started. And unfortunately, ladies, I'm going to have to hop off. I've got 3 patients in my chairs waiting for me. They are knocking on my door. So I love all of you. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here today. I'm so sorry I have to jump off, but I've got to get to work.
And thank you so much for
thank you.
jumping in. Thank you so much, council member, for being on board. And we do want to identify and recognize time. And this is still a work day for a number of you. And this can get to be a heated conversation that all of us are pouring ourselves into. And it is definitely time for that because, of course, a lot of new bills are passing with infrastructure and Build Back Better that are going to impact MBEs and hub zones and everything. So I do want to ensure that we move through a lot of the questions. I know that Gwen is doing a phenomenal job getting everybody to pour in, but there were a couple in the chat and I'm getting texts about, hey, do you see questions in the chat? So I just wanted to remind us of that and be conscious of time. Thank you so much.
Could I say just one last thing too? Just in preparation for our younger generation, there are also opportunities in the Teen Entrepreneur College, where there's a credit-based program that blends the classroom and instruction with interactive activities. And so we have to look, to the generation coming up to prepare them as well. And so I wanted to throw that piece in. Thank you.
So Angelique, with that, this could have been a 3-hour conversation because I probably got through 2.5 questions of the list of questions. I'm probably more prepared than I need to be, but we wanted to make sure that the conversation, but I think there's just so much content around tying economic development and small business development and opportunities through OBO and others, contracting. I'm just going to put this last question out, and then I'm just going to open it up for the rest of the Q&A portion, because we've heard some recurring themes about some of the things that can be done to be able to better facilitate building capacity so that we can get access to some of these larger contracts. But I want to just ask this question because there's a role that the council members specifically can play in helping to do that. And Councilmember Plummer kind of started off with that, but council members, as the last question before we open it up to Q&A, can you talk about what role specifically council members may be able to play to help facilitate access and support small businesses in terms of becoming certified? Vice Mayor Pro Tem, you talked about the role that you played in helping having discussions about bonding, because that's going to be a requirement when you're pursuing these larger contracts and capacity building. So what specific role can the council member and the council member's office play in facilitating?
Yeah, so one thing I wanted to chime in on, and this is a perfect segue to it, is I've talked to OBO about identifying professions that aren't represented in our directory as MWBEs or city vendors, right? And so many times the city may say, hey, we were looking for a minority firm to do XYZ project, but there aren't any there aren't any listed, or that we don't have enough vendors out there to meet the requirements. And so as a city council member, one of the roles that we play is say, okay, let's identify what those professions are. What are those skill sets that are lacking, that aren't represented in our directory? And let's not expect the vendors to come to us, but let's go identify the vendors. Let's go out there and figure out if it's with maritime, or it's with construction, or it's with some of these very specific skilled industry. Where are they? And if they are not represented, we need to have a program or some type of trainings that will connect our community colleges and our TSUs and our PVUs and make sure that we are building that, so that the city can no longer use an excuse that we don't have any minority firms that can do the work. So now the prime gets to self-perform. And so that's our role, is to try to get out there and identify. And I'm going to be working with OBO over the next several months of really finding where those gaps are, and then utilizing that to go out into the community and fill those.
That's perfect. That's incredible. And I believe my our time as having this panel discussion is, we're at time, it's 10:20. And so being mindful and considerate of time and the fact that there's so many questions in the queue, I'm going to thank everyone for just such amazing conversation and providing your insight and perspective. I think was quite valuable. I learned a lot as well. And with that, I'm just going to turn it back over to Angelique.
Great. Gwen, thank you so much for the details and the background on what's going on in the city of Houston. I think Shelby can probably open up. I do see a few of the questions, and we do want to address you guys on these calls, things that are pending and coming up, and things that we can actually do to prepare. This is an advocacy and policy committee, and we want to be able to advocate for the opportunities that are coming forth. I see one question in the chat, and this is directly to the city council members. And for the sake of time, please keep your question short, your answers short. And these people can also reach out to your offices if you will provide them with your direct information or how to reach you, because that is also in here. One question here, are there any efforts to provide earmarked funds or contracts specifically for foundational Black Americans or African Americans? Are there earmarked funds? Are there specific funds that are going to be targeted towards our community? Council members?
Through the city of Houston, I don't think there are going to be any earmarked funds for a specific community that's used with tax dollars. But we do work with a lot of private entities to have public-private partnerships for people of color. And I know that can get broad, but it's our job as African-American council members who represent certain communities to ensure that you have the information to be able to apply and be eligible for that money. But tax dollars will not be able to be utilized for one specific ethnicity group.
Yeah, you can't, these are public dollars. You can't exclude others, but that's what the metrics we have in place for the minority business component. I think that's something you should monitor. So we have minority, we have women, and we have small business, and then we have, what's the other one? Is it something? It's whatever. Nevertheless, you should be monitoring that and really mastering that process, right? So because if we earmark dollars just for Black folks, then we're just gonna have Black folks competing against Black folks on a limited amount of money, which for what, when we're moving millions every week. So we have to get better at making sure that our Black businesses are scaled and ready to, one, complete that process, and then compete for those bids and be ready to go to work.
Awesome.
I'm going to say in negotiating the CBA for the ION, there are some opportunities for money for minorities. And I know Carol Guest was a very intricate part of the CBA, as well as what's going on. And she certainly has her finger on the pulse of monies that may be available to help minority businesses. And again, this is why I'm very, very ecstatic actually about the ION and the possibilities. And so.
Awesome. Another question that is in the chat is, what can you all do to get added support for minority certifications? And of course, we are aware that the Build Back Better program and the President's program are also focused on the increased participation of minority businesses and Black-owned businesses. What can you do to support minority certifications and the certification process in the city of Houston?
I'll jump in and answer that. I will tell you that Director Murray and the Office of Business Opportunity does a yeoman's job of getting those certifications done.
Right.
You can actually do one-on-one sessions.
Right.
There is an OBO Solution Center. So I think that if you're having a problem with getting those certifications, reach out to me and I can connect you with their office, and they have people there that can walk you through that process. That's just a matter of making those connections and getting it done. We can that I know we do well.
Okay. Well, one of the comments is if we can't close the gap on the time it takes for minority businesses to become certified, especially MBEs and DBEs, we will miss opportunities. So we do want to acknowledge people's comments about those types of things, because we do need to make sure that we're really focusing on that.
I do want to say that, if someone's having a problem, please reach out to me, because I want to make sure that everyone that wants to be certified is getting certified. And if there's something that we need to improve on, I mean, I wish we had money to hire at least 10 more people in OBO. And I think that would definitely help with the time frame, but they do have a targeted time frame for those certifications to be complete. If we aren't meeting those time frames, let me know, and we can figure out how we can get that corrected.
Awesome. Well, closing the gap is going to be critical. I think that we have time for one more question. And you guys, I'm really excited about the chance to talk to all of our African-American council members. And I hope that you all are too, and will engage more with the chamber behind these types of efforts, because this is what is coming down the pipe from the federal space, and African-Americans are going to have to step up their engagement and involvement in our communities. I'm looking for the last question. It was one more. Shelby, do you see it there? Okay, here it is. How do we request support for economic development projects that are targeted specifically in complete communities in the city?
How do we
request support for economic development projects targeted in complete communities in the city?
Well, you have to understand that most of the time that we're advocating for any particular issue or project or initiative, it comes directly from you. So if you see opportunity out there, regardless if it's for economic development or community impact or a certain type of programming, reach out to us. I mean, we represent you. That's why you elected us into these offices. And so we depend on your insight when it comes to what you believe will be a benefit to a particular area or to your community. And then there are ways in which you may be able to serve in certain capacities or different roles into actually helping make that happen, whether it's on the board or commission, or if you have a specific expertise and we can put you on a management district or a TERS board. That's where the engagement piece comes in. And so please continue to reach out to us and engage with us on things that you think will improve your community from an economic development standpoint. And we'll see what we can do to advocate on your behalf. But I think forums like this and what the Black Chamber is doing helps us to communicate and further this dialogue. And so each one of us represents different areas of the city of Houston. So wherever you are, find out who represents you, reach out, and let's start having that discussion.
And we can definitely connect you with the Director of Complete Communities, if that's a specific area that you're interested in doing business with, along with Deputy Director Tillerson, so we can look at opportunity zones and areas. So just reach out to our offices. We're happy to make those connections.
Thank you all so much. And just know that this will not be the last convening of the African-American community with the Chamber, because that is what this is about, advocating for our community specifically. So your questions have been amazing. And I'm really excited that we've got Gwen involved from an economic development standpoint, because that's what's coming down the pipe. If there are no other questions, you guys, I know that there could be, because we could have meetings all day because we are African Americans, but I do want to, and that's how we do it. But anyway, this is not church. So I just want to say thank you guys so much on a Friday morning. And I hope that y'all enjoy your weekend. Shelby, this was on point. Kudos to Shelby. Those young folks are really stepping up their game to create opportunities like this. And going forward, we want to engage them more in these conversations so that we aren't having them alone. And I want to turn it over to Carol to close us out. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you, Angelique, and thank you, Shelby. Thank you to all of our council members. Thank you, Gwen Tillerson Bell. You got to put the bell on there. Gwen Tillerson Bell. Thank you so much. And just wanted to point out a few things that some of the council members talked about. We have a chamber chat session on our YouTube channel with Gwen Bell that discusses economic opportunity with the TER. So you'll want to check those out. And we also have on our YouTube channel several other webinars with our council members. They have consistently been engaged with us, and you can look at those videos on our YouTube channel to get more information about what's going on at the city and some of their passions as well. So thank you, council members. Also wanted to speak on something that Vice Mayor Pro Tem raised as far as opportunities with the Houston airport system. We just convened the executive officers last Monday with regard to opportunities at the Houston airport system. And that is posted on our YouTube channel as well. So your chamber is working for you to get this information out to you. So thank you, Vice Mayor Pro Tem, for providing that information for us. We also have a direct ear in Councilmember Pollard for OBO, and Marsha Murray, I want to say hello to you. She is on our advisory board and is very tapped into our concerns concerning the chamber and certification. So thank you. And I'd also like to acknowledge our other board members that are on the call today, our Chair Niles Dillard and Tico Reynolds Hausman, our Economic Development Committee Chair. Thank you, Tico, for joining us today. And so I want to just wrap up by saying thank you to all of the members. As you can see, all of us are working hard on your behalf, and working with our council members is a true partnership. Yes, they are elected officials. They're here to listen to us, but we also need to provide them with up to the minute, on the ground information about what's going on in your area so that they know how to help us. They won't know through osmosis. You've got to contact them with meaningful information and a solution, because they are very busy and we want to do as much as we can to assist them in their job. So thank you, council members, and thank you to our members for being so invested in your future. We have a couple of events coming up. Speaking of the projects that have been mentioned, we need to get ready for them. So we also have a capability statement webinar that our Economic Development Committee put on that is also posted on our YouTube channel that can assist you if you need help with capability statements. And coming up on December 8th, we have an RFP, responding to RFP opportunities coming up on Wednesday, December 8th that you can register at. Register for at ghbcc.com/all events. I placed that link in the chat. And on Tuesday, December 7th, we have the Art of Closing the Deal happening at the Power Center. It's going to be a festive event as part of our Women in Business brunch. So if you are a man, you can come. Just be ready for all the estrogen in the room. It's going to be a festive event as we celebrate the holidays as well. So we hope that you'll join us there. So on behalf of our board of directors, all three of our boards, the foundation and our advisory board, and our council members, thank you so much. Shelby, Angelique, thank you for the work that you have consistently done to move us along in advocacy and policy. And we look forward to seeing everyone at our next event. Everyone, take care. Have a great day.